Level 1. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is a known face of West Coast gangster rap, but that has never stopped allegations of snitching against him. The first time that Snoop was accused of being a snitch was after a 1998 incident at the Universal Amphitheater, in which he and his crew got into a brawl with death row associates. According to leaked police reports, Snoop feared things could turn deadly and went to the LAPD for protection. Allegedly, the paperwork shows him telling officers that Suge Knight was involved in Tupac Shakur's murder. Suge Knight himself hasn't let that go. From prison, where he's serving out his 28-year sentence, Suge still calls Snoop a rat, claiming he talked to authorities while under protection.
I mean, if you get a guy that constantly getting in trouble and never gonna come to prison, that's because he's an informant, he's a rat, a snitch, you know. And they're more important to the police on the streets than in here.
So you don't think Snoop was a rat?
I mean, I don't want to make Alice, I don't need to put nobody out there.
Okay.
If I do, that's like a form of telling. But for the street guys out there, they know.
On the other hand, Snoop has always denied the allegations, waving them off as old, messy history. Rick Ross. Rick Ross built his image around being a global drug boss, even taking his name from the real-life kingpin Freeway Rick Ross. That image cracked in July 2008 when the Smoking Gun published records showing Ross worked as a correctional officer in Florida from 1995 to 1997. He didn't just clock in, he also took an oath, earned perfect attendance, and worked inside a prison. At first, Ross denied everything, saying the files were fake or Photoshop, but the proof kept piling up. Once it was impossible to deny, he changed his approach. He admitted the job but said it was just a way to put food on the table. Bimmy Antony. Bimmy Antony was once treated like royalty in Queens. As a top figure of the Supreme Team, the powerful drug syndicate that ruled parts of New York in the 1980s, his name carried serious weight. That reputation took a hit in 2025 when Kenneth Supreme McGriff released a documentary from prison. In it, McGriff accused Bimmy of being a confidential informant for nearly 40 years, starting in 1985. The claim shook a lot of people who grew up hearing Bimmy's name with respect. Bimmy strongly denied the accusations, pointing out that he served his full prison sentence without cuts or deals. 50 Cent. During 50 Cent's explosive beef with Murder Inc., rumors started flying that he had filed an order of protection. A document surfaced that listed Curtis Jackson as an informant, which looked bad on paper. Irv Gotti even supported the claim publicly, adding fuel to the fire.
I think the police and the feds came to him. And I think he told them a great story of Irv Gotti and Kenneth Supreme McGriff. And I think he's been telling them stories, which kind of probably makes him feel untouchable because he's with the police. So he could beef with anybody.
For a while, it seemed like a serious stain on 50's street image, but people eventually dug into the details. The paperwork referenced a 234th precinct, which doesn't exist anywhere in New York City. Once that flaw was exposed, the document lost credibility fast. In the end, the streets ruled it as fake. Quality Control P. Quality Control P, the CEO behind Migos, Lil Baby, and City Girls, is one of the most influential figures in Southern hip-hop. In 2023, allegations surfaced claiming he cooperated with police during a 2010 murder investigation. The paperwork suggested P identified a shooter in order to clear his own name.
And there was a situation between him and a guy in a mall. He got confronted. I believe shots went off, whatever. And P has a written statement with his signature.
What made the situation even stranger?
If you were sexually abused while in a juvenile detention facility, you may be entitled to $580,000 or more in compensation.
Stranger was that the person he allegedly pointed to was already dead. In today's street language, this move is called the civilian loophole. It means giving information on someone who can't be arrested or charged just to protect yourself. Level 2. Lil Cease. Lil Cease was Biggie's cousin and a key member of Junior Mafia, so his loyalty was always assumed. That changed in 2005 during Lil Kim's perjury trial tied to the 2001 Hot 97 shooting. Cease took the stand for the prosecution and told the court that Kim's manager, Damian World Butler, and Sweef Gutta Jackson were at the scene. That directly contradicted what Kim had told the grand jury. Kim ended up serving a year in prison because she refused to name them. She said he was just telling the truth, but the fallout was heavy. After that testimony, he was pushed out of the crew and largely cut off from the circle he came up with. Gunna. Gunna's situation all comes from the YSL RICO case and his Alford plea. In December 2022, Gunna stood in a Fulton County courtroom and agreed that YSL was a gang, not just a music label.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
That statement helped him walk free without directly saying he committed a crime. Legally, it protected him, but culturally, it hit different. By agreeing with the state's version of events, he became part of their case, even if indirectly. To many fans and peers, that moment broke the idea that the crew was united. Whether intentional or not, Gunna's plea shifted the entire narrative around YSL. A$AP Rocky. A$AP Rocky and A$AP Rocky were close from way back, growing up together in Harlem. That history made what happened next even more shocking. On November 6, 2029, near a parking garage in Hollywood, things went out of hand. Afterwards, Rocky testified in court that Rocky set up a meeting, grabbed him by the collar, and shot him in the hand. On the stand, Rocky described feeling the heat of the bullet as it grazed his knuckles.
Like towards my stomach, like towards like my headish a little. Like everything was happening so fast, you know what I mean?
Troy Ave. In May 2016, a shooting at Irving Plaza killed Troy Ave's bodyguard, Ronald Bangin McFadder. It happened just before a T.I. concert, and street rules usually call for silence, but Troy Ave went another direction. He took the stand against Tax Stone, the podcaster accused of firing the shots. Troy told the jury about the struggle over a gun in the green room and didn't hold back. He later summed it up with a line that stuck: "The streets is a myth." Troy said testifying wasn't snitching, it was justice. To him, speaking up was about holding the man responsible for killing his friend accountable, no matter the backlash. Cameron. Cameron has always been vocal about street codes. In a 2007 60 Minutes interview, he famously told Anderson Cooper he wouldn't even snitch on a serial killer.
If you had seen who shot you, would you have told police?
No,
Why?
because the type of business I'm in, it would definitely hurt my business. And the way that I was raised, I just don't do that.
He backed that image in 2005 when he was shot during a carjacking in Washington, D.C. and refused to cooperate with police. But things get complicated when you look further back. In 1999, a police report uncovered by the Smoking Gun showed Cameron Giles allegedly gave details to the NYPD after being assaulted in Harlem Park. That report didn't match the image he later presented. Level 3. Young Thug. While Young Thug was fighting for his freedom in the YSL RICO case, an old moment from 2015 came back into focus. Leaked interrogation footage tied to the shooting of Lil Wayne's tour bus showed Thug speaking with investigators without a lawyer present. In the video, he answers questions carefully but still raises eyebrows. When asked about the shooter, Pee Wee Roscoe, he breaks the law every single day. To many, that sounded like dry snitching, a way to shift attention off himself. Years later, Pee Wee Roscoe defended Thug publicly. He said Thug was clean as Listerine and claimed that Thug was just talking in circles to confuse police and protect himself in the moment. Real Boston Richie and Spot 'em Got 'em. Spot 'em Got 'em's career, along with Real Boston Richie's, took a hit after a blogger named 1090 Jake released interrogation footage. Richie, a Florida rapper backed by Future, was shown talking to police for over an hour. In the video, he explained details of a Grand Theft Auto case and named people connected to it, all while trying to save himself. His response was that he was spinning the cops by feeding them fake information to get out. Spot 'em Got 'em faced similar backlash. He was accused of giving details about a shooting involving Y&R Mookie to avoid serious charges. His defense was simple. Since he never testified in court, he argued it shouldn't count as snitching. He was later freed, but Mookie remained incarcerated. 03 Greedo. In 2016, Greedo got arrested in Texas after deputies pulled over a car he was in and found about 4 pounds of meth along with several guns. He was looking at up to hundreds of years based on reports. To avoid that, he took a plea deal in 2018 and ended up with a 20-year sentence on gun and drug charges. Later on, 1090J claimed in a post that 03 Greedo cooperated with law enforcement after the arrest. According to the allegation, Greedo supposedly gave up information about his co-defendant, possibly in exchange for money and a lighter outcome. People online often repeat the claim that he told police he knew something illegal was happening and that this cooperation is why his sentence ended up being much lighter than expected, and why he only served around 4 years out of the 20-year deal. Slime Life Shawty. Slime Life Shawty became a key figure in the YSL RICO case after taking a plea deal. As part of that deal, he admitted that YSL was a gang, but his most talked about moment happened live in court. While reading a statement, he accidentally read an unredacted Instagram caption that included #FreeQuay. That small mistake revealed to the jury that his co-defendant was locked up. The courtroom reaction was immediate, and the slip nearly caused a mistrial. G Herbo. G Herbo's legal trouble was a federal wire fraud case involving stolen credit cards and high-priced designer puppies. The government said the scheme ran across state lines and involved multiple people. Herbo eventually pleaded guilty to conspiracy and making false statements to a federal agent. As part of that plea, he admitted he lied to investigators about his connection to Antonio Strong, a promoter who was identified as the leader of the operation. Strong ended up taking most.
Ask Opera AI. Make me an image of a really extreme McDonald's branded gaming.
Most of the blame. Level 4. Lil Cease. After the February 25, 2001 shootout at Hot 97, the federal investigation heated up fast. Lil Kim went before a grand jury and said she didn't see her manager, Damian World Butler, or her enforcer, Sweef Gutta Jackson, at the scene. That wasn't true. She lied to protect them. Lil Cease didn't do the same. When he was called to testify in federal court, he said he did see both men there. His testimony directly contradicted Kim's story and became a key reason she was sentenced to a year and a day for perjury. C said he was subpoenaed and had no choice. The street didn't agree. To them, Kim held it down while C saved himself. Robert Allen. Robert Allen is best known as the fat guy seen in surveillance footage from the murder of XXXTentacion. On June 18, 2010, he was part of the 4-man group that ambushed X outside Riva Motorsports in Florida. While the other 3 men chose to go to trial and face possible life sentences, Allen took a different route. He accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to second-degree murder and robbery. Then he took the stand. In court, Allen walked prosecutors through everything, from planning the robbery to blocking X's BMW. When asked who fired the shots, Allen point-blank said it was Michael Boatwright. His testimony helped seal the case. Allen avoided life in prison, but earned a permanent label in the process.
As he grabbed the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright.
And who does he shoot?
Triple X.
Tommy Hill. In 2003, Tommy Hill was arrested in Philadelphia after trying to sell crack cocaine to a government informant who was wired. He later pleaded guilty to the charges, which pretty much ended his run in music. After that, talk started spreading that he had worked with law enforcement to get a lighter sentence. Rumors claimed he cooperated and even testified against other people, including names like Johnny Harry and Benjamin Bellman. None of it ever fully died down, and his name eventually started popping up online in lists of rappers who were labeled as snitches. In December 2011, Tommy Hill was shot and killed in Philadelphia after leaving a bar. Some people later speculated that the killing was tied to those old cooperation rumors, but nothing was ever officially confirmed. Casanova. Casanova built his career claiming strong ties to the Gorilla Stone Nation, presenting himself as untouchable Brooklyn royalty. That image collapsed when federal prosecutors hit the gang with a wide RICO indictment. Facing the possibility of life in prison, Casanova made a choice. In May 2022, he pleaded guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, and drug charges. In court, he admitted he had a leadership role in the gang. He also admitted to a 2020 Florida shooting tied to a gambling dispute and a 2018 Manhattan diner robbery where a woman was attacked for taking a photo. Casanova didn't testify against others, but his plea alone backed the government's entire case. By renouncing his flag, he traded a possible life sentence for 188 months behind bars. Level 5. Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack, born Jack Gagnon, was famously called a snitch by Tupac on the song Against All Odds. Over time, many people started to think Pac might have been right. Back in 1993, Jack and Tupac were co-defendants in a sexual assault case. Tupac, who was already a major star, ended up doing time in a maximum security prison. Jack didn't. His case was separated, and he walked away with a misdemeanor and no jail time at all. That outcome raised a lot of eyebrows. For years, industry insiders whispered that Jack was protected, possibly acting as a federal asset. The rumor was that he was allowed to move freely in street circles in exchange for information. Charleston White. Charleston White doesn't deny cooperating with police. He boasts of it. Once a teenage gang leader who served time for murder, White later rebranded himself as a civilian. Now he openly admits to calling the police on rappers and street figures he clashes with. He treats law enforcement like personal security, often bragging about it online.
If it is, I hope it is, I want to snitch. I want to snitch, I want to tell, whatever they call telling, snitching, I want to do it. And I want to make it cool to do it.
White has publicly threatened to get rivals locked up, including people tied to Soulja Boy and King Von Circle. Instead of following street rules, he rejects them completely. To him, the street code is a setup that only benefits prison systems. Jimmy Henchman. Jimmy Henchman Rosemond was the head of Czar Entertainment, working with big names like The Game and Gucci Mane. According to federal documents that 50 Cent put out in 2022, Henchman had been allegedly sitting in on proffer sessions as far back as the late 90s. Those are meetings where someone gives information to the feds in hopes of getting protection or leniency.
I'm not the murderer. The murderer in this whole situation is home. All he had to do was point the finger at me, and he went home.
And it wasn't a one-time thing. In those sessions, he reportedly admitted to using Interscope Records offices to move cocaine and even loaning drug money to Wyclef Jean. The darkest claim in the files is the one that still shocks people. FBI records suggest Henchman may have helped set up the 1994 Quad Studio shooting involving Tupac Shakur, supposedly to gain favor with dangerous figures. FBG Butta. FBG Butta came out of Chicago's drill scene and was once close with King Lil J. His name became infamous during a murder investigation involving his own crew. Rumors spread fast, claiming Butta gave detectives information to save himself. What made it go viral was the joke attached to it. People said he did it for an Italian beef sandwich and a Pepsi.
So that way and then to the side.
When you find out that your child has cancer, you feel helpless.
The story turned him into a meme overnight. Butta has told different versions over time, sometimes saying he finessed the cops and didn't really tell. But paperwork suggests he testified and identified co-defendants. Fat Joe. Fat Joe was long seen as a solid figure from the Bronx, someone who survived decades without major stains. That changed in 2021 when his former Terror Squad associate Cuban Link released alleged paperwork online. The documents claim Joe, listed under his real name Joseph Cartagena, cooperated with police in an old murder case. The internet exploded. Joe responded by going live on Instagram for nearly an hour. He yelled, sweated, and broke down the paperwork line by line, calling it fake and pointing out the whiteout marks and errors. No solid proof ever confirmed Joe as an informant, but the accusation alone shook his legacy. Level 6. Tekashi 6ix9ine. Jorge Rivera was a confidential informant whose job turned 6ix9ine's Chevy Tahoe into a moving surveillance unit. On July 22, 2018, when Anthony Harv Ellison and Alger Maya Nuke Mac kidnapped 6ix9ine, Rivera's hidden dash cameras were already recording. Everything was caught on video, from the car being rammed to 6ix9ine being dragged out.
Give me everything, nigga. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car. Chill. Where your man?
Rivera was basically wearing the wire for him, but the real moment came in court. 6ix9ine didn't just let the footage play, he narrated it himself. He broke down the video frame by frame, pointed out former gang members, and explained exactly what was happening. Rivera's footage backed his story perfectly, turning visuals into hard evidence. OTF Jam. In October 2024, federal prosecutors unsealed a murder-for-hire indictment tied to Lil Durk. The case centered on an alleged attempt on Quando Rondo that ended with the death of his cousin, Xavier Robinson. What shocked people most was the insider betrayal. Court filings and street reports pointed to a mole inside Durk's inner circle, widely identified as OTF Jam or someone extremely close to him. This person allegedly wore a wire during key conversations. Recordings captured talks about flights, payments, and planning details. This wasn't old information dug up later, it was real-time intelligence. The info was so precise that agents arrested Durk near the Miami airport just as he was preparing to board a private jet to Italy. The leak collapsed everything. Alpha Mega. Alpha Mega was known as the muscle behind T.I. and Grand Hustle. He had a reputation as the tough guy, the enforcer nobody wanted problems with. That image fell apart in 2009 when the smoking gun released official paperwork. The document showed Alpha Mega had been a DEA informant since the 1990s. After a gun charge in 1995, he agreed to cooperate. He wore a wire and helped infiltrate a heroin trafficking ring led by a dealer named Ali Bakar. Alpha Mega later testified as a government witness, helping send people to prison while still moving around as a gangster rapper. Once the truth became public, T.I. cut ties immediately. Level 7. Alpo Martinez. Alpo Martinez was once a celebrity kingpin who helped tear apart the DC drug scene. In 1991, everything caught up to him. He was arrested and faced the death penalty for 14 murders. With no way out, Alpo made a deal that changed everything. He testified against his own enforcer, Wayne Silk Perry, one of the most feared hitmen of that era. Because of Alpo's testimony, Perry was sentenced to 5 life terms without parole. Alpo got 35 years instead. He was released in 2015 and placed in witness protection in Maine under the name Abraham G. Rodriguez. But he couldn't stay away. He returned to Harlem and was shot to death on Halloween 2021, sitting in his Dodge Ram.
This notorious drug lord, Alpo Martinez, shot and killed on the streets of Harlem. He was a larger-than-life figure who seemed to defy death. Fox 5's Lisa Evers goes over who he was and why he might have had a long list of enemies.
Keefe D. For years, people speculated about who really killed Tupac Shakur. What many didn't know was that Keefe D had already told the feds the story. In 2009, he signed a proffer agreement with the government. In exchange for immunity on drug charges, he laid everything out. He explained how he got the gun, rode in the white Cadillac, and handed the Glock to his nephew, Orlando Anderson. Keefe believed the deal protected him for life. That confidence led him to talk too much. He went on interviews and podcasts openly discussing the shooting. What he didn't realize was that his immunity had limits. Decades later, his own words came back to haunt him, leading to his arrest and indictment for Tupac's murder. Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack was publicly called out by Tupac on Against All Odds, where Pac labeled him a snitch tied to the feds. Over time, the details made people question things. In 1993, Jack and Tupac were co-defendants in a sexual assault case. Tupac went to a maximum security prison, Jack didn't. His case was separated, and he walked away with a misdemeanor and no jail time. That outcome raised serious eyebrows. Industry insiders have long believed Jack was protected. The rumor was that he operated as a federal asset, allowed to move freely in street spaces while providing information. None of it was ever fully proven in court, but the pattern stuck. To many, the paperwork and outcomes spoke louder than any rumor. T.I. In 2007, T.I. was arrested after trying to buy unregistered machine guns and silencers from an undercover agent. As a convicted felon, he was facing serious time, possibly decades. Instead, he ended up serving 1 year and 1 day. That sentence didn't sit right with a lot of people. The streets called it impossible math without some level of cooperation. Things got worse when his close associate, Alpha Mega, was exposed as a longtime DEA informant. T.I.'s image took a hit, especially after he appeared in a Crime Stoppers video as part of his plea deal.
It can help our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our fathers help get the perpetrators who commit crimes against them off the streets. All you got to do is call Crime Stoppers Atlanta.
Big Meech. Big Meech is still serving a 30-year sentence and is widely respected for never taking the stand against others. To this day, many believe he stayed solid, but recent conversations have added more context to BMF's downfall. Former insiders like Terrence "Gangsta" Williams have suggested that the organization didn't fall because of Meech himself, but because the feds had informants everywhere. Phones were tapped, associates were talking, and information was leaking from multiple directions. Meech may not have cooperated, but his empire was surrounded by people who did. The case became too big to control. In the end, BMF collapsed from a network slowly being exposed from the inside out. Bimmy Antony. Bimmy Antony was long respected as a high-ranking member of the Supreme Team. His name carried power for decades. That image cracked when Kenneth Supreme McGriff, the gang's imprisoned leader, released a documentary accusing Bimmy of being a confidential informant for over 40 years. Supreme claimed Bimmy wasn't just someone who talked once, but an active federal asset. The accusations shocked many. Bimmy strongly denied it, pointing out that he served real prison time. He reminded people that he took the 3 to life and didn't walk free. Still, once Supreme made the claim publicly, it stuck.
You mastered your mind.